Yo, what's up everybody? I'm back with another video. So I know the other video kind of ended abruptly, but I didn't know who was over at my house. Now that I know who it is, I'm just gonna continue. I should have just kind of muted the mic and went down and checked. But I'm a dumbass, you see. That and I didn't, and I guess 2 hours is long enough for a video. So, yeah, so where we last left off, Todoroki was using fire and ice against Deku. Deku was just dodging between, dodging around, dodging over, and all kinds of things like that. And he gets right in front of Todoroki's face. Just right in front of him. Punches him straight in the gut, sending him out of the ring. He tried to use ice to block it, to block his fall backwards. But he was just breaking each ice and went out, hitting the ground. And then the fight again against Bakugo and Kaminari just decided, he was just going to end it pretty quickly. And Bakugo tried to charge at him, and Kaminari hardened up his body and actually threw a punch at Bakugo, and Bakugo just, kind of was disoriented and went flying and ended up out of the ring as well. So now it's a fight between Kirishima and Deku. So Deku, he's basically just he just goes, it's just it's like a thing between them, like a connection, like going full out type shit. And Deku rushes at him, and Kirishima rushes at Deku, but Deku's only using 50% in reality. Actually, no, 25%, as I said, in reality. So he's rushing at him, and Kirishima tries to throw a left hook. Deku dodges and throws an elbow and tries to throw an elbow into his gut, which is then blocked by Kirishima's other arm. But it still sends him across the ground, tire tracks basically. Then they run at each other again. And it's just blow for blow, trading blocks. Until finally Deku says, basically hypes up again, hypes up the percentage a little. Hinds it up like 10%. So he goes from 25 to 35. And then he's running, and he blocks Kirishima's punch, and he throws the elbow, which Kirishima wasn't ready for it to be that fast. Gets hit straight in the gut. He hardens his gut, but he still gets thrown back. And then they rush at each other again. And then it's just trading blows, blocking and attacking between the two. And until finally Deku finally gets a good opening on his Kirishima's head. He gets a good opening. He takes it and he nails him straight in the side of the head, making him all disoriented. But he's still in the ring. So, as respect for him, Deku trips him up and throws him into the ground, knocking him unconscious. Not just tossing him out of the ring. He actually takes it serious and knocks him out. And then Deku is in first place of the sports festival, which everyone's like, yeah, he kind of said that in the beginning. So I guess he was right. It wasn't overconfidence. It was just the truth. And yeah. So Deku and Deku and Momo, they're kind of together now. They're kind of an item. And they go to school for a few days. Nothing really eventful is happening. Just some training and stuff. And Deku is training. And then the trio is still training with a new member, which is, what's his name? Shinso. And Shinso starts training his physical body. He's kind of slow on the parkour, and they're all doing a slower pace of what Deku was doing the first time for them. It's a slower pace of it though. And Deku made him a uniform as well, just a purplish, that whatever color Shinso's hair is. And he's, running and jumping and shit. And then the press basically, they see Deku, and they're like, and all the vans roll up, they're trying to capture shots of Deku and stuff. And Deku starts running full speed, basically chucking, Shinso's trying to keep up. Well, Deku isn't running full speed, he's running 50. And Kirishima's running full speed, so is Aizawa. And they're still behind Deku, just a little, but they always will be. And, it's a run for Shinso, and Shinso is just jumping and stuff. And then they finally lose the press, and they enter a gym, and they all start benching stuff, crazy amounts. Deku's at, he's at 10,000 for a comfortable bench now. Like comfortable working out standards. And Kaminari, he's at he's at like 500, and Aizawa is at 500. They can't go above 500. It's not like physically possible for them. And somebody's still lacking, and they're at a 50 bar, and they're working. And then it's time for everyone to go. The press gets there again. Deku thanks the lady and jumps over the rail, does his little backflip. Kirishima does it as well, and then Aizawa does it. And then Shinso, he does what Kirishima does the first time, and gets pulled up by Deku. And then they continue running. And now all three of them have their own homes to themselves. All next to each other, just because of how fucking famous they are. So they all do this little juke after throwing Shinso basically into the building, into a window that was open. And, they're just juking, and then they go inside, they open it, and Shinso's there. He's doing what Kaminari is doing, and what Kirishima was doing the first time. My bad. Continuously said Kaminari through that whole segment. But what Kirishima was doing, and how he was all freaking tired. He said, you have to deal with that on a daily, and Shinso basically stayed the night with him, and Deku tells Nezu, he basically calls him up and says, yeah, Shinso, his quirk is strong, it's just not good against robots. That was kind of his problem, and his physical strength. But now we're training that, so can you bump him up to Class 1A with us? And Nezu's like, yes, sir. And if he's being trained by you, I believe in him. And he did kind of recognize that his quirk was strong. So he says, fuck it. And he gets bumped up to Class 1A with them. And then the press are all like blocking again because they added a new member, it seemed. They had a new member, so they're all like looking to see who it is. And it was like, crap, we're gonna have to make the jump. And Kirishima was like, oh, this time I'm actually gonna make it. So I was like, yeah, we all gonna make it this time. Oh wait, you aren't gonna make it. Oh well. And Deku takes a running start at 50. And he jumps, he starts flailing, and he rolls into the classroom, into Class 1B's classroom. And then Kirishima follows him. And then, freaking Aizawa follows right behind that, not even using his scarf and just going in. And then Deku said, don't worry, I'll catch you, just jump. And he jumps, he almost, he's almost there, and Deku just reaches out the window and grabs him by his arms, and then pulls him inside. They're all breathing heavy again. And then and Deku was like, whew, haven't had to do that in a while. And then they all go into Class 1A. And some of them are like, what is he doing? Some of the students are like, what is he doing in Class 1A? Deku says, well, you see, I asked if he could come into Class 1A with us. And the teacher allowed it. So he's one of us now. You have a problem with that? You can settle it with me. And all of them are like, yeah, no, we don't need another one of those rage moments. We kind of learned our lesson the first time. Type crap. And Deku, he says, good. Anyways, a few days go by, and then it's time for midterm exams. Being, their class versus freaking, and this one's a little different. It's everyone versus all of the teachers. But there's one rule. Deku can't participate in this one. He can only give out orders. He can't actually, participate at all. Unless all of his team members get knocked out first. Which then all of them fail. And he's the only one who will pass. And Deku's eye, one of Deku's eyes has a glimmer of red, kind of appear in the middle. And he says, "Are you sure you wanna talk about knocking out students, especially the ones of my class?" And All Might sees that red, and he's like, "I don't know about this one, Chief. We knock out a certain person, and he knocks us out." So Deku's basically just walking around with them, kind of telling them how to do parkour, basically getting them to rooftops and stuff. And Deku's boosting them up, and then Kirishima is just pulling them up afterwards. And they're just doing this through the entire cycle. And so he doesn't get pulled up, he just starts jumping from side to side, and then eventually gets up and climbs himself. And then Deku does the exact same thing, but faster and more effectively and more silently. Just better. And then Deku, Momo makes him binoculars, and he looks through, and he sees Aizawa on a rooftop. He's like, "Yo, there's Aizawa's on a rooftop. Let's take him down." So Deku, they're sneaking up to the rooftop that Aizawa's on. It's a really tall rooftop, but Kirishima is basically making little holes for the other students to grab onto once he pulls them up. Once Deku throws them up as far as he can, he just starts chucking them up. Actually freaking Kirishima and Shinso are the only ones who are up there. And Shinso says hello. And Aizawa, Shinso says, "How's your day going?" And Aizawa turns around and says, "What the hell?" And then he's put into into a state of mind control. And then Kaminari, basically charges up a fist and knocks him out. And the goal is basically to capture Nezu, who's in a building held up, inside of the building. Which Deku is basically just taking out the lookout. And now it's just the guys on the ground, which Deku's staying in the air with his team, basically chucking them over to the new locations that they are going to. And Deku, he continues to throw people, and Kaminari catches some of them. And they see Nezu in a building, and Deku tells Momo to make some hang gliders for them. He's like, "Yo, can you make some hang gliders?" And she does, because they're on a taller building than Nezu is. So, actually no, Deku just tells her to make some parachutes. She's like, "Sure." She makes some parachutes, and Deku says, "Okay, so we're all gonna, so me, Shinso, and and Kirishima are gonna go and take down Nezu. If it's a trap, then you guys come in and take whoever's there down. And they all go in, and right before they're about to enter the building, they all unstrap their parachutes and take them off. And then they break into the window of the building. And then Nezu turns around very slowly like an evil mastermind and says, "I've been expecting you." And there's 2 miniguns just pointed right there, which Shinso says, "Okay, well, how's your day going, Nezu?" And Nezu says, "What are you talking about?" And boom, he gets put into mind control. And then he's told to turn off the miniguns. And Nezu, he turns off the miniguns, but he was expecting this. So then all of the heroes jump in, are basically all there, and all of the students just start parachuting in, basically taking down heroes, and they captured Nezu, so they won. Except for a few students who just didn't, go along with the plan and kind of failed. So, yeah. They were just kind of taken out and hunted down. So, yeah. Anyways, now it's time for Forest Training Arc. So they all go to the freaking forest. And right as it's freaking time, as soon as they pulse it in, they, pull it in. Deku, as soon as they try, Deku just runs, and he tags, and he grabs onto Momo, just picks her up, fireman scary, and jumps, diving, kind of, taking the brunt of the fall, putting her, laying her down. Are you okay? And then he gets up. After she says sure, it says yeah. He gets up. He walks over to Aizawa and kicks him in. Then walks over to the Pussycats and just starts chucking them in. Like, this is vengeance, bitch. And he gets in the bus and he goes to the place because it's like in a location, it tells him how to get there. It's a navigation. He drives perfectly fine. He gets there, and he's waiting there. And all the students look all ragged and beat up, but all the teachers are fine. All the students are all tired except for Kirishima and Shinso, who was training with Deku. So they were in the trees, trying to get there. And Deku was, talking with Momo. That, while they were all gone, they were just talking, flirting a little bit and stuff. And finally they were waiting for the other people to arrive. And Deku says, "It took you long enough." And Aizawa says, "You were supposed to do this. You were supposed to do the exam. You weren't supposed to kick us into the exam site and then just drive the car away to the finish line. But it worked, didn't it? And I did get to the finish line, like you said. And Aizawa says, damn it. Kid's too smart for his own good. And then, yeah. Deku, and then that night, while they were all in the bathhouse, Mineta was climbing up the wall, and Deku just ran up the side of the wall. Ran up the side of the wall right to where Mineta was, which he was almost at the top. And he kicked him down. And he did a backflip and landed it perfectly. And oh yeah, wait, how did I forget about Hero Killer Stain arc? Damn it. So for the Hero Killer Stain arc, what happens is Deku gets all these internships. He's like, yeah, but I don't really want to go to any of them. None of them are really useful for me. Hell, I wish I could intern everybody. I can intern myself. None of them are really going to be useful for me. So, he doesn't accept any of them. But he does follow, from the shadows, he's basically following Ida around because he seems all down and shit. And then Ida goes into the little place with the Hero Killer Stain. Deku's up on top of the building, just kind of crouching and looking at it. And Ida gets stabbed in the leg, and that little thing happens. And right as Stain's about to bring the sword down upon Ida, Deku, while he's out there, he says, really? You're gonna kill a kid just because he was taking revenge for his brother? I mean, he's a kid, It's not right. He should know right from wrong at this point, but still, he has time. It's only his first year in UA. That's 2 other years that he can right this wrong. So you can calm down. And Stain looks up and is like, who the hell are you? Because Deku's basically in a shadow. And Deku, he just kind of dives off. And lands in the front where the light is. And says, I'm just a quirkless badass. Landing perfectly after doing a backflip. And so he's just a quirkless badass. Which Stain says that he's not a true hero. There's only one true hero, and that's All Might. All other heroes should be eliminated. And Deku looks at him with this confused look and tells him, well, that makes no sense. Your logic is flawed in that regard. You see, there's a problem with that. You could just make the heroes realize what their wrongs, and then they can become great heroes like All Might. You could just give them a little bit of a scar to show that, to basically make a point that they need to be a better hero. Be actually heroic like All Might. You could do that, and then there'd be no need for you to do this. And there would be more good heroes than bad. So, what you're doing is kind of contradicting itself. But I'm not going to argue with your logic. Let's just fight. Since I can tell that you kind of put this ideology into your head completely. And you aren't going to get rid of it that easily. And Stain charges at Deku. And Deku jumps off the wall, jumps onto another one. And does the thing that he does with the Sledge villain. But Stain pulls on his sword and tries to slash at Deku. In midair, Deku moves his body away from the sword, hitting Stain with an elbow. And hitting him into the wall. Telling him... And then he tells Stain that he's pretty good, but not good enough. Which Deku doesn't realize that what his quirk is. And he got a little cut on Deku, just a little one, because he didn't really care to dodge a silly little cut, like small cut. And then Stain licks the blade, and it starts to mess with his system, shut it down. And Deku, it tries to shut him down, but he's still standing there, you know? It's not like he fell. So he looks like it's not affecting him. So Stain's like really worried now. It's like, how the fuck is this not affecting him at all? And Deku's type O, so he has the shortest time, which Stain was just like thinking for that time. And then Deku rushed at him, knocked away his sword, and, you know, freaking tied him up around his back with some rope that Deku had on him. And then Deku put him to the ground, like, yeah, you ain't going nowhere, type shit. And he calls the heroes, he's like, yo, Hero Killer Stain is here. You mind sending some cops? And, you know, some heroes rush over. And they see that Stain's all binded up. And Deku's just got a little cut on his arm. And Ida's got the stab wound in his leg. And then there's the other guy. And, then the police get there, they put him in cuffs, and then they take Deku and, you know, Ida and them to the station, and the dog says, well, you guys can't take credit for it because you can't use your quirk. And Deku looks at him, says, do you really think I have a quirk? Huh? You really want to go down that road? Huh? Is that right? I don't have a quirk for your information. So how can I use the quirk if I don't even have one? So it is legal for me to take him down without using the quirk, right? And the dog says, yes, I guess it is, so fine. And Deku gets to take his credit for taking down the Hero Killer Stain. And then once he gets back, Momo, she checking on Deku, like, pull up his shirt, seeing if he's got any cuts or anything. You know, just checking him all over, you know, checking him. And I was just like, damn, I didn't know you were this aggressive. she kind of blush. Everyone kind of laugh at that. You can tell I'm running on like 20 right now. I'm not feeling too well, sir. What the fuck? Oh yeah, that's the guy who was asking me if I was continuing my Assassin series. Nope. Just 'cause I got bored of it. So yeah, anyways, Deku's just, like, he's, he's just, laughing, and yeah. Now we're gonna go back to the time that I was mentioning before. Yada yada yada, he lands the backflip, he gets food, and then they go to sleep. Deku, after the next day, Deku, he just starts parkouring in the trees, starts learning how to do stuff in the forest, how to train in the forest, how to climb and stuff. Because it is a different experience than buildings. So he's learning how to do it. Which he's going kind of slow, but then he starts to pick up the pace, and then he's back to where he normally is on the buildings. Where he just jumps, and it seems like nothing to him. My body's trying to shut down, but my mind is perfectly fine. This is why we don't take medications, kids. Because they'll fuck you up like this. Yup. Anyway, so Deku, he just, whew. He's just training, and the four of them are training in the trees, basically, all together, training how to climb, how to do tree parkour, because it is a different experience. And then Deku sees Koda whenever he ran off. He sees him after doing some parkour in the trees to try to find him. Deku sees him. He jumps over to him. And Koda basically tells him his little story. Deku says, "Come on, kid." Deku says, "Oh, I'm sorry, but, anyways, your aunt's getting kind of worried about you." Actually, Deku says, "I mean, I know what you mean. I was quirkless most of my life. Actually, I still am quirkless. I just got stronger. Physically stronger. So, that's how I ended up like this." And Koda kind of sympathizes with it. And he's like, "Oh, okay." And then Deku tells him that his aunt's worried. So he needs to take him back right now. And Koda's like, "Okay, I guess." And Deku just kind of puts him on his back, on his head, like a little kid. And he starts, jumping through the trees, telling Koda to hold on tight. and he gets there. You know? But I think... Hold on, how long is this? This has gone on for 40 minutes. I think I can end it with 40 minutes. Yeah, I guess I could. Anyways, I'm a member of the Death Squad. Peace. Cliffhanger, I know.